Yo, welcome back to SeaBed. Last time we finished chapter 1. Takako got like one of her fits with the ear ringing. The same one that Sachiko had in the prologue. Yeah, she got one of those and then Mayuko calmed her down. And the chapter ended. And it seems like chapter 2 is gonna start back up where the prologue left off with Sachiko going to Fujisaki's mansion or whatever. But before that, we have some tips to look at. The tips have been the most intriguing part so far, so I'm kind of interested in what's going to happen here. Consultation room. Let's go. See, like this time it kept my the side image from the settings, but sometimes it doesn't. It's weird. I realize this doesn't really fit for this scene. Hang on, I need something more fitting. We'll put the very low quality water background. I realized I've been sleeping at the desk of my examination room. The clock displayed the time as 10 p.m. Okay, is this examination room in the mansion? I fixed up my hair, stood up, and took a can of beer from the fridge. I turned on my portable radio, and after adjusting the volume, focused my attention on writing the daily report. Or does this take place in the past, compared to the other tips? I might have called it a report, but it was no more than a rough list of what had happened during the day, separated into a few sections. As such, I finished writing it with little difficulty. I made a note on Sachiko's overall condition. She had yet to tell me anything vital. However, I felt like it was about time for me to act. With Takako gone, Sachiko came to live on her own. I had my doubt she could survive for long in her current condition. Really? She seems fine. A song I used to listen to came on the radio. I paused and took the open beer can from the side of the table, but it was already empty. Are you allowed to drink on the job like this? I stood up, walked to the freezer, and took out another can. I opened it, and after taking a gulp, shifted my gaze to the little window in the corner of the room. I could see the moon shining brightly in a cloudless sky. The sight made me calm down a little. I flipped through the pages of one of the medical records I brought from the library. You brought them from the library, so this is a direct continuation of the previous scene. What? As in the previous tips scene, I mean. How? There's no way this examination room is in the mansion, right? Because the mansion is supposed to be on an island, Takako said. And also, the way it was described, I imagined it as a little, corner, like a little, really small clinic, like on the corner of a street or something. Not a giant mansion with a billion rooms. The earlier reports really did look more like a diary than anything. It was full of stories about Sachiko, me, and our usual companion, Takako. I'd see Sachiko maybe once or twice a year after we graduated elementary school. No! What? No! You said it was the first time you've met her. I'm almost certain you said that. Or maybe it was Sachiko that said that, but one of you said that it was the first time you'd seen each other since elementary school. No? I'm pretty sure I'm not making that up. But Takako seemed to have been with her for the entire time. Those two were quite peculiar characters, to say the least. And when you say those two, you mean you actually saw the two of them at the same time? Like they're not the same person? As I finished reading the page, I realized the volume of the radio had gone down. As I glanced at the radio, I saw that the red lamp indicating the life of the two AA batteries powering it had grown dim. It was about to go out completely. I considered removing the batteries and putting them back in. I even toyed with the idea of just shaking the radio. It was an old thing, though, with certain parts of it already rusted away, so I ultimately changed my mind. I finished listening to the distorted sound of the radio with a beer can in one hand, and focused on finishing my report. Is that it? Oh, no, okay. After a while, I realized I could hear a faint sound alongside the scraping noise from my pen against the paper. I paused, raised my head, and strained my ears to listen. It was coming from somewhere close by. Is it the cat again? The more I listened, the more it sounded like someone's voice. I had no idea who was talking or what was being said, but it felt like someone had been whispering somewhere in the vicinity. I took a closer look at the radio, thinking it might have honed in on some weird wavelength, but its light had already gone completely dark. I considered the possibility of the sounds from Sachiko's room traveling all the way here due to some peculiarity of the mansion's design. What? So this room is confirmed, this clinic is confirmed to be in the mansion? How? God, hang on, I need to think about this. Didn't she literally say word for word that her clinic was small and was across the street from a big hospital when she invited Sachiko to come at the tea shop or at the coffee shop? I'm pretty sure she said that, didn't she? Is this a different clinic from the one that Sachiko went to in the prologue, but it just looks like identical one-to-one, but it was just recreated in the mansion for some reason? That doesn't... I don't know if they would do that. That seems like a very cheap trick to pull narratively. Otherwise, I don't know how you'd explain this. Wait, no, wait. When Sachiko heard the cat outside the window... Sorry, Jesus. When Sachiko heard the cat outside the window, didn't she say the cat was like... Because the way it was described, it seemed like the clinic was underground and the cat was just like walking in the alleyway outside. But if this is a mansion surrounded by like a garden, there wouldn't be a cat walking along the alleyway outside the window. There wouldn't even be an alleyway, right? I would need to go back and see exactly how that scene was described. Is Sachiko just completely insane and she's just making everything up? Maybe Sachiko doesn't even fucking work at the office anymore. Maybe she just lives in this mansion and she's just hallucinating everything. Like, who knows? Although I could no longer hear anything, urged by curiosity, I left my room. I had a slightly bad feeling on my way to Sachiko's room. It follows that the corridor was colder than usual. Also, does this not look very different from the corridors we saw when Takako was here? Like, when Takako was here, it seemed like a very old building. But here in this photo, it looks very modern, doesn't it? The closer I got to her room, the colder it felt, and the worse my feelings of premonition became. My first thought upon reaching her room was to open the door. However, I then realized there was no light coming from her room, and that it was pretty much the middle of the night. Okay, I'm sorry, you're doing this because you feel as if you're hearing voices? A faint sound. It sounded like someone's voice. Okay. I decided to first check if there were any sounds coming from the room first. Placing my ear against the door, I listened in. I felt like I could vaguely hear something when I was walking towards the room, but now it had fallen into complete silence. After spending another minute or so listening, I still heard no voices whatsoever. I began to wonder if it hadn't just been my imagination playing tricks on me all along. In the end, I pulled back from the door and gave it a light knock. There was no answer. I unlocked the door and slowly pushed it open to make a small gap, all the while careful not to make a sound. Okay, what's the craziest thing that could be in the room? I think that the craziest thing would be like if Takako was in the room and Sachiko wasn't there. Or maybe it's probably just gonna be that Sachiko's disappeared, right? Or is Sachiko dead or something? I don't know. The cold seeping out from inside made my skin tingle. The faint ray of light making its way inside from the corridor gave the pitch-black room some color. I stopped pushing the door by the time the light reached up to the bed, and strained my eyes as I looked into the darkness. However, Sachiko wasn't there. I pushed the door open and entered the room. Sachiko was nowhere to be seen. Ooh. She jumped through the window. Okay, well that tip cited a lot of questions. Let's read the other one first. Bedroom. Okay, we're just continuing, it seems. No matter where I looked, Sachiko is nowhere to be found. I wonder why they would make this 2 different tips instead of just one. Because we unlocked both at the same time anyway. I don't really see what the point is. I considered the possibility of having mistaken the rooms, but after taking a better look, the sheets in the bed were obviously wrinkled. I tried coming up with the most likely possibilities for Sachiko not being here. She time traveled. It wasn't exactly the time to go outside, but perhaps she couldn't sleep and wanted to take a walk in the night. However, I also had the feeling it wouldn't be something so simple. I returned my attention to the room. It was much colder in there than out in the corridor, but its window was closed. I couldn't quite understand how that could have happened. Was the door locked? Okay, it seems like the door wasn't locked. No, it was. I unlocked the door. So Sachiko didn't just leave, right? Unless do you give the patients a key to their own room? I feel like you wouldn't, but maybe you do. I don't know. I couldn't quite understand how that could have happened. However, I felt the room held the answers to her disappearance. As such, I decided to investigate it. The room seemed even darker than usual. I could barely make out the contours of the plants in the corner. It was possible that my eyes were just tired, or there was something else I didn't think of, but I had a bad feeling about this. As I raised my face after checking the other side of the bed, I finally realized there was something left on top of it. It was this book that Sachiko used to read all the time after coming here. I picked it up to realize it was not a book, but rather a notebook with a leather cover. There was nothing written on either the cover or the back. Is that supposed to be Takako's notebook that she was writing in the sanatorium? I check its weight with one hand. What do you mean check its weight? Just open it. After a quick glance around the room, I turned my attention to the notebook. I felt hesitant to read her personal notes, but I had no other leads. Besides, Sachiko had never left it like this before. I made up my mind and opened it. There were no separate sections to indicate schedules. Instead, it was just a regular notebook with ruled lines. One neatly handwritten line followed the other, making up sentences after sentences. I failed to buy the extra cheap cuttlefish for 100 yen, so I bought 2 sea breams for 200 yen instead. I paid 100 yen for my daikon, but then found one at the grocery store that only cost 80. It's probably best to buy your fruit and vegetables at places like that. I went on a drive to the mountain with Sachiko. Okay, yeah, so this is Takako's diary. On their way back, Sachiko spotted a pussy willow. A what now? When I plucked one of its branches for herself, she worriedly asked if it was okay. But when we got home, she decorated our entrance with it. Sachiko's name came up, so I assumed this note was most likely written by Takako. At first, the note seemed to mostly be about cooking, but as they went on, I realized she was noting down every single detail with little to no consistency. The date on the first page was from a year ago, which, according to you, Takako would already have been long dead by that point, and the notes continued jumping ahead days, sometimes even weeks, until they suddenly ceased, leaving most of the notebook blank. A year ago. I checked the letter pages to confirm if it was really blank, and flipped through the entire thing again, trying not to get too caught up in the details. There was a point where the writing suddenly changed. It seemed like some of these were written by Sachiko. The room suddenly grew completely dark. Turning around, I noticed that the door had closed behind me. What do you mean, did the moon disappear? Like, what do you mean it grew completely dark? Thinking that Sachiko might have returned, I closed the notebook. But it wasn't anything anywhere... It wasn't anything anywhere near as nice? That seems like that's worded strangely. As my eyes slowly grew used to the dark, I couldn't believe what I was seeing. The foliage plants by the door had disappeared. The bookshelf changed into a wardrobe, and there was now a new closet by the wall. Before I knew it, I was standing in a completely unfamiliar room. I felt a bitter chill rise up my spine as I confirmed that the notebook in my hands hadn't changed. Is this supposed to be... Is this supposed to be how the room looked when Takako was here? Because this little stand here, it looks identical to the one that, what's her name? That Sana had in her room, right? That we put the record player on. This little stand looks identical to that. And I feel like I remember there being a painting on the wall here as well. I don't know what this curtain is, though. I don't think there was like a curtain here. I turned around to see an unfamiliar bed with curtains, yeah. I pulled one of the curtains aside and looked at the bed. Takako is sleeping on her back, with Sachiko nestled against her. Okay. What was going on? Trying to keep up with this unexpected situation, I gave my surroundings another scrutinizing look. I started with Takako's face. My intuition told me this Takako wasn't exactly alive. Then I realized I had missed something. You think this is Takako's dead body? Like... The date on the first page of the notebook was last year. In other words, this notebook might contain a description of Takako's death. What do you... What? You said you had been seeing Sachiko for 10 years in her medical record, right? But why are you saying like Takako died last year? Were you seeing Sachiko for an unrelated reason? Not related to Takako's death? Have records on... I wonder why I failed to realize that as soon as I saw the date. But then again, weirder things had been happening around me tonight. I couldn't blame my head for not being able to keep up. As I was organizing my thoughts, Sachiko slightly moved. Her eyelids slowly opened. It felt like time itself had stopped. Before long, however, I found myself transported back to the familiar confines of room 208. And it ends there. Oh god. That's it, right? Yeah. Okay, so you remember how last time I said that unless a story makes it extremely clear and it's like very obvious to the reader that there's supernatural stuff going on, unless it does that, then you should just assume that there is none and try to come up with explanations that don't require anything supernatural. I think those tips may have crossed that threshold. Like, I think I mean, there's still some ways you could like finagle around it, but I feel like we're pretty clearly in the realm of the paranormal right now, right? I don't know how you could explain what we just saw with like a natural explanation. Honestly, I think the biggest thing for me still is Narasaki's clinic being in the mansion. That just makes no sense to me. Are we like in Sachiko's memories or something? Like in Sachiko's brain or something? Or... Oh god. Well, at least the tips didn't disappoint. They did, they were very out there. I wanna go check something real quick. Room 208. I wanna check exactly what she said. I think it was when she went to the library. She had been here on several occasions, and I was the one to examine her each time. I eventually treated and sent her home in a healthy state. I was a doctor at this clinic. She's calling it a clinic, which is very different. In Takako's chapter, Mayuko called it a sanatorium, like explicitly, not a clinic, and just like everything looks different. Like I said, this looks way more modern than this place looked when Takako was here. Oh fuck, I accidentally fucking skipped everything. I think it's at the very end, so I don't want to skip too much. Can I just see the Easter actually? Okay, I can see it here. Right in the first page, I spotted some familiar looking handwriting. It was mine. The date was already over 10 years ago. Her symptom, treatments, and progress were all recorded in the document. It differed a little from how I currently fill my medical records, filling them with random superfluous observations and a number of unrelated information, almost like it was some diary. Feeling the grip of nostalgia on my heart, I looked over the record for a while longer until I noticed the light of my flashlight growing dim. I promptly pulled out all of Sachiko's file from the shelf and returned the way I came. I wish I could fucking control F in this. It would be so much easier. I want to see, did she talk about Takako here? When I asked her about it, she said her job had been pretty hectic lately. When I asked why, she told me Takako had passed away due to an illness. Apparently, Sachiko took over her workload in their office on top of looking after her when she ended up bedridden. Obviously, we've never seen this. She told me she wanted some rest, so I lent her one of my rooms. And this takes place in the future, right? Because if you've been taking notes on Sachiko as like a doctor for over 10 years, there's no way this takes place at the same time period that we've been seeing the other stories. It was a bit strange to have things disappear in such quick succession, but I was particularly interested in what that missing foreign bend thing was. I feel like the story's trolling me, man. Like it... Is the answer just that there is no answer? Am I getting epic trolled? I think that's everything we're gonna get on Takako, right? Okay. Yeah, I don't know, man. I'm lost. If the just give me like one little. I want the game to give me one little answer, just like a little answer to something, and then I feel like from that I can extrapolate a lot. But right now I have so many questions. It's hard to come up with an answer that solves all of them. Let's start chapter 2. An old car at a desolate station. That's chapter 2, right? Yeah. The smell of a winter forest assailed my nostrils as the train car's door slid open. The platform I stepped on seemed to be made of stone. A gust of cold, humid wind blew a bunch of dried leaves up the mountain. Rumble, rumble. Look, the sides changed again. So I guess it only resets when you start like when you load a save file. It doesn't reset when you go into tips, I guess. We'll go back to Sachiko. There we go. It's sluggish movement like that of an old man slowly rising to his feet. The platform fell silent after that. All I could hear was the silver grass rustling in the wind. Stepping inside the station, I spotted a sign with the station name spelled out on it. There was also a bluish plastic bench. Its faded color is the result of constant exposure to rainfall. Likely no one had sat on that thing in months. I took a few steps forward on the uneven stone-paved road with patches of grass sprouting from its cracks. My suitcase's wheel got stuck in one said crack. Is Fumi with you? Realizing I wouldn't get far like this, I picked it up and continued carrying it in my arms. I could see a large oak tree in the front of the station. The station itself was a wooden building sporting wooden window frames with a bored, yawning station warden loitering around its vicinity. I began rummaging through the bag in my hands, looking for my magnetic ticket card. Oh, wait. Another thing I need to go back and check. Wasn't there a conversation you had with Fumi about that? Where Fumi was like, oh, you know, they've started making these magnetic cards for taking the train. That way you don't have to get a ticket every time or something. And didn't you say you didn't have one, but now you do? I need to go back and check. I don't remember how that conversation went. That was a while ago. As I walked closer to the ticket machine, the warden finally noticed me. I guess I'll write that down. Sachiko has a magnetic ticket card. Okay. He was wearing a blue uniform, but his tie was crooked and he had no cap on. I soon spotted the cap hanging on the wall next to the desk he was sitting at. I finally found my wallet. Exiting the station, my gaze once again fell on the same oak tree from before. Upon closer inspection, I noticed it was somewhat slanted, hanging above the narrow road that only had space for a single car. Ooh. Okay, hello, Fujisaki. Why are you wearing like a kimono? Speaking of which, there was an old-looking car parked at the side of it. Old-looking, huh? And next to the said car stood a long-haired woman in a kimono. She was fixing her hair, looking at her vague reflection in the car window. As I approached her, she spotted me and turned around. Miss Mizuno? That's right, long time no see. It really has been a long time. You came to pick me up? Of course I did. Oh hey, just put your bag here. Hang on. She opened the rear door of the car, her graceful movements in odd contrast with her somewhat crass manner of speech. Okay, I guess that's a Japanese thing that's hard to translate in English. With my bag in the backseat and me sitting at the front, our car began climbing the mountain path. Nanae was at the wheel. Seeing someone driving a kimono was an odd sight to say the least. Still, she had to stuff her long sleeves into her sash and take off her clogs. Yeah, I was gonna say, you can't, I don't know if that's legal, like driving with those shoe things. We slowly but surely ascended the mountain, following the twisting, chaotic road. Near the curve to our left, we saw a rusted guardrail and a round mirror on an orange pole. To our right stretched a vast mountain slope, illuminated by sunlight, filtering through the multitude of naked branches, their leaves long since shed. Okay, are you on an island right now? Or no? Because the mansion previously was, and I'm talking about where Takako was staying, because I assume it's going to be the same place. But where Takako was staying, it was mentioned to be at the top of a mountain, but it was also on an island, right? Nanae sounded a brief chuckle. Your fancy magnetic train card won't work here. Seems that way, yeah. I never even considered it. So that's why it took a while for you to get out of the station. You totally caught me off guard since I figured you'd be coming with the next train. I watched the patchy shadows of the foliage above dance upon the surface of the road. Apparently it had rained here recently. The few remaining drops of water sparkled on the leaves in the late afternoon sun. The car tilted a bit as its tires drove into one of the deeper puddles of the road with an audible splash. I held onto my seat, doing my best to maintain my balance. Better watch out, the roads around these parts can get tricky. Noted. The car seemed to have lost its seatbelt over the years, so I had no choice but to rely on the door handle to keep myself in place. The leather seat would change its shape with every jerk of the car. Though rough to the touch, the seat wasn't uncomfortable to sit on. It accepted my weight with just the right amount of resistance. The interior wasn't made of cheap resin sheet, but quality wood, most likely the only reason it hadn't completely fallen apart by now. I spotted an animal toy that looked like a cat with long ears, and a small bottle with aromatic dried flowers hanging from the front mirror. More flowers, more flowers. The car's interior had that certain vintage smell to it, with a hint of an orange-like fragrance lingering about as well. The sea will come into view in just a sec on our left. Her words made me shift my gaze to the window. That's not the sea. What do you mean the sea? There's mountains beyond it. Through the leaves? Oh, or maybe this is the island, and this is the mainland, and this is like the sea in between it. Through the leaves of chinquapin trees and wild camellia bushes, I could make out a small port town as well as sea further beyond it. As I admired the deep blue hue of the waves visible through the moving foliage, a high-pitched sound, almost like a flute, filled my ears out of nowhere. Was that a green pigeon? I fought with the handle for a while to roll down the stubborn window. The wind, carrying the salty scent of the sea, blew into my face. I brushed the hair off my face and listened into the cries of winter birds as the cold wind caressed my skin. We managed to continue on a proper road for a while, but soon enough we were back to driving through a rough, mountainous path. If we had continued down that road, we would have ended up at the port. Nana began telling me how she participated in some hotel owner meeting in the town earlier today, and how she spent the rest of her time in the market district shopping for supplies. Apparently she managed to find some unusually choice ingredients at a bargain price. In other words, I had dinner to look forward to. The trees became more scarce as we climbed higher up the mountain. There was almost nothing blocking my view of the port town anymore. From this angle, it looked like a split bowl opening to the sea. There were no tall structures in sight. The lack of obvious office buildings gave the land a sense of serenity and calmness. It really made me feel like I entered the countryside. I spotted an arc that indicated the entrance to a shopping district. Beyond it, small buildings with red and blue roofs lined the road like a mosaic. As the road edged closer to the sea, even those buildings became scarcer. There were ships and boats of various sizes anchored on the other end of the big levee surrounding the town. Some were even sailing into the sea as I watched. I noticed a lot of poles embedded in the bay area a little further away from the city. Are you building something there? I think those are seaweed farms. Oh, for the crackers that Sanae loves. Oh my god, I love seaweed. How about you, Sachiko? You love seaweed? Just like Sanae? I don't mind it. In that case, you should take some home with you. We've got plenty. We're almost there. As we cleared another curve with lush and blooming red camellia bushes, I suddenly felt as I saw a thin line connecting the mountain and the port town. Can you see the gondola cable? I had to bring lots of stuff with me today, so I used the car, but it's usually a lot faster to just use that to get to the town. My place is just a little further away from the station. I spotted the brown roof between the slanted white trunks of the tree and the reddening evening sky. The car took another turn at the treeway junction. Upon asking what was there on the opposite side, I learned that there was a small mountain village nearby. I heard the cry of a green pigeon again. Small mountain village. Alright, show it to me. It's the same building. Yeah, it's the same building. Yeah, I knew it. We passed by a hedge fence with several yellow flowers growing on it before finally reaching the actual inn. Also, not only is this the same building, but this is the same car as well. Like, this is the same car that Mayuko was driving, right? The actual building was colored in dull brown and looked like it could melt into the snow-laden winter forest behind it at any moment. Windows with wooden frames lined the flat brick wall. Most of them were covered in ivory curtains from the other side. The tires made low crackling sounds as if they drove over the gravel driveway. The car jerked a few times as Nanae slowed down to align the vehicle to the parking spot. After a few more adjustments, we finally came to a complete halt. We're here! I stepped out of the car, feeling slightly wobbly after all that shaking, but the invigorating scent of flowers pulled me back to reality. I followed Nanae along the gravel road, which was covered almost completely in golden flower petals. Impressed by how her sash didn't seem to come undone after all that shaking, I glanced over her shoulder to inspect the inn. One side of the building was rounded and rose towards the sky like a tower, its lattice windows only adding to that image. It also had a pointy roof that reminded me of a witch's hat. From it extended a triangular roof with a few windows that covered the middle of the building. The rest of the roof was flat with a white fence for its parapet. Parapet? A parapet is a low wall or barrier extending above a roof edge. Parapet, okay. Tall trees behind the building extended above its roof, their colored leaves rustling in the wind. The semicircular side of the building went out of view as I ascended the fan-shaped stone stairs at the entrance. The double doors had 3 rectangles carved at the bottom and a window at the top. Above the window there was a rectangular patch of stained glass. Huff. Then I picked up my bag with one hand while turning the metal handle with the other. Okay, wait, I'm sorry. One side of the building. The semicircular side of the building. Okay, I'm not sure I fully understand her description. Because we know the building that, we know that Narasaki's clinic and the building that Takako was in was like U-shaped, right? Like it had a middle section and then it had the north wing and the south wing, right? Or was it east and west? I forget. But it had 2 wings basically. But I'm trying to see if this building's also shaped like that. But I'm not really understanding her description, so I'm not sure. Nane picked up my bag with one hand while turning the metal handle with the other. She pushed the door half open to her shoulder, then turned back towards me. Welcome, dear guest. Okay, this is way different. Well, I guess we don't know. We don't know if this is different because we never saw the entrance from Takako's POV, right? So maybe this is just what it looks like. We're here for a bit. And then they swiftly disappeared into the room beyond the lobby desk. The room fell completely silent with the room fell into complete silence with her gone. The sun had almost completely set, yet the lights in the lobby were still off. The only thing to illuminate the floor was a rectangular patch of colorful light that filtered in through the stained glass. For a while, I kept staring absentmindedly at the lobby desk. Its black wood surface was surprisingly cold to the touch. Behind the desk, I could see a fancy-looking cabinet with arched, cat-like legs. Up on the shelves, I also spotted some old foreign-looking postcards, an artificial flower, and some early Christmas decorations, among other things. A transparent vase rested on the lobby desk with a camellia branch planted in it. Next to it was a silver mechanical register decorated with vines. I'm sorry, I'm just thinking, is it the same vase that Mayuko put the branch in that we saw? Was it also a camellia tree that she took the branch from? I forget. It could have been. Put it on the list of things for me to check for next time. Check if the vase, the tree branch in the vase is the same. Sorry to have kept you waiting. Nana appeared in the doorway holding a green journal. And an apron. Oh, it's working just fine, don't worry. Realizing I was looking at the register, she pushed one of its buttons, causing the lower half to open with a lively ka-ching. There were a few bills and some coins inside. We don't really use it too much though. Nana closed it with another ka-ching. She then placed a journal on the lobby desk. I want you to sign your name here. Yes, here. Then here. And here. After pointing out 3 places on the paper to her fountain pen, Nana popped its cap off and handed it to me. I signed my name 3 times. Ding dong. Okay, the grandfather clock is the same, right? The grandfather clock that towered near the far wall of the lobby had just struck the hour. We never saw the grandfather clock in Takako's chapter, right? We heard it, but we never actually saw it. The clock's hand signaled that it was 5 o'clock. I'll show you to your room. Nanae's tassel journal under the desk and then circled around it. I was about to nod when a familiar branch trembled in the vase, almost as if to answer my stead. What do you mean? Okay, this looks the same as when Takako was here. We ascended the semicircular stairs and took a right turn on the second floor corridor. The floors creaked under my step. Windows lined the wall on my right. Looking at one of them, I could see the inner yard and the stone-paved path through a crown of leaves. To my left, I noticed several doors, all of which bore the same design as the ones at the entrance. Oh my god. Is she in the fucking north wing? And the north wing is a hotel and the south wing is a sanatorium? Is that what's going on? That would be very funny if that's it. That would be very, very funny. I kind of hope that's it now. And Sachiko and Takako are both in the building right now and none of them know that they're there. We turned the corner at the L-shaped corridor when Nanae finally stopped. This is your room. Jesus. She turned the key in the lock, opening the door. After entering the room, she left my bag by the side of the bed. I walked to the other end of the room and glanced outside through a large window. Its elegant lace curtains swayed in the light breeze. It gave me a view of both the port town and the sea. I'll leave your key here. Nanae placed a key attached to a rectangular, amber-colored and semi-transparent key holder on a nightstand next to the bed. Anyway, I'll get back to work now. You're free to go anywhere you want inside the inn. We also periodically check the windows, bathrooms, and so on, but as you can see, most of our equipment is pretty old, so don't hesitate to inform us if you find that lights don't work somewhere. Takako's gonna be there to change the lights. I will, thank you. I'd love to talk to you some more, so what would you say to having dinner together tonight? When will that be? How about in an hour or so? Sounds good to me. Cool! I'll come pick you up in an hour then. Okay. Nanae moved to the door and left the room after making a curt bow. After glancing out the window one more time, I sat down on the bed. It had a vine-like canopy that seemed to be carved out of wood. I took off my shoes and stretched my legs. After I was done with that, I joined my fingers and stretched my arms next. You had to step down from the sill to reach the floor, which was at a slightly lower level than the door itself. The interior furniture was of an old Western design. The green, one-seater Victorian sofa had an acanthus leaf design carved into its leg. The color of the sofa's mahogany? What? So many words I don't know. Mahogany is a premium tropical hardwood. Okay. Mahogany armrest had faded over time and looked almost black at certain spots. That said, its springs seemed to be in perfect condition, and with the tall black backrest, the whole thing was a pleasure to sit on. I spotted a small chestnut cabinet that had the carving of a lion on its side. An ivy plant was positioned on top of it, covering its upper half with vines. It's a very ominous dinner table. The white porcelain cup made an elegant clang as I put it back down on the saucer. Ah, that's right, I remembered that year. I came back and found the entire place covered in heaps of snow. Hardly something I'd forget considering how little it snows around these parts. Time sure flies, doesn't it? That was how Nanae replied when I brought up the year we met. I guess I'll just call her Nanae instead of Fujisaki, because that's how she's calling her. Thank you for showing me around at the time. Who knows where I would have ended up without your help. Well, don't sweat it. Nanae made a mischievous smile. Mischievous. The blackwood table in the middle of the dining room had an engraving of ivies and cosmos flowers on its sides. It was supported by spindle legs whose shape reminded me of dewdrops. So, do you like it? Like what? Our mansion? You say our mansion, but who else is here? Yes, it's quite something. I'm glad it didn't disappoint. I expected the smaller place since you told me you managed it alone. I'm not really doing it alone. My auntie's also here, and also during peak season we hire part-timers from the town to help out. Unfortunately, we don't have a hot springs on the premises, so there aren't that many customers around this time of the year. She let out a sigh. I see. That explains why you have time to have dinner with me. That's the long and short of it, yeah. Cheerfulness returned to Nanae's features. A gust of wind suddenly swept through the room, making the candle lights between Nana and myself flicker. Do you always use candles for lighting here? No, those are for special occasions. Don't you find it romantic? Okay, calm down. My girlfriend just died, okay, calm down. There was a dark window on the wall behind Nana. Upon giving it a closer look, I spotted the shadows of tree leaves fluttering into the darkness like wavelets in the night sea. With the table taking up almost the entire space of the relatively narrow, candlelit dining room, I felt almost like I was in the cabin of some western ship. It's like we're sailing in a ship. If that's the case, I hope it's a merchant vessel. Why? It cost a fortune to transport all this furniture from overseas. I see. Have you acquired anything new lately? A few things, as usual. Our ship's not departing tonight? We're resupplying on water and foodstuffs right now. And once that is done? Well, the wind looks favorable and there's not a single cloud in the sky. We could sail at any time, if that is your wish. And I let out a hearty, sailor-like guffaw. Wahahaha. Are you always like that? And I asked after we both calmed down. We both calmed down, because you're really going crazy there. With your ship bit. No way. Takako was always like that though, I added. Sounds like a fun person to be around. Shame I didn't get to meet her. I bet you two would have hit it off. Nane made an amiable smile again. Okay, so you told her that she is dead? She seemed to possess entire repertoires of smiles and knew how to use them. As a result, I ended up revealing more than I originally intended. I shut my mouth and shifted my gaze to the window behind her. Beyond the huge shadow of the mountain, bright stars decorated the night sky. It really was a huge mansion. I couldn't imagine how Nanae, who is more or less my age, ended up owning such a place. You said your aunt was also working here, but what about your parents? Are they dead? I don't have any. My mother passed away when I was little, and as far as I know, my father ran off before I was even born. Nanae said that as though it was nothing. I see. Nanae made another smile, perfectly attuned to the situation. Aren't your parents dead too, Sachika? That wasn't confirmed, but just... That's something I've kind of deduced. I think that your parents are dead. It didn't seem like she was bothered, so it would have been odd for me to apologize. Not knowing what to do, I shifted my attention to the food. That's a lot of food. Steam billowed forth from the boiled radish as I used my chopsticks to slice one. I put it in my mouth, tasting its warmth. You prepared quite a feast today. I could smell the mouth-watering salty sweet aroma of the well-seasoned meat and potatoes too. Among the many plates on the table, besides the radish, there was also one for sea bream sashimi with shiso leaves. I picked up an oyster from another plate and put it in my mouth, feeling its gentle sweetness spread across my tongue. Sweet? I don't think oysters are particularly sweet. Takako was not a fan of the taste and would always move oysters to my plate. Don't be shy to speak up if there's anything you don't like. And you don't need to eat everything, I'll happily finish your leftovers. I'm not particularly picky about my food. Thank you. I felt the slippery texture of the oyster in my mouth. A mellow sweetness enveloped my tongue as I bit through the flesh. What do you mean sweetness? The fact, maybe it's just whatever condiments you're using. The fact that I disliked this was still baffling to me. Really? I feel like oysters are a very disliked food. Like a lot of people really hate oysters because of the textures. I'm like fine with them, like I'll eat them. I don't really like them, but like I'll eat them. That's how I am with most food. Like even if I don't like it, I still eat it. There's very few food that I will refuse to eat, you know. I left my gaze settle on the flickering candle lights up in the gently swaying chandelier as I reminisced. The two candle holders lined up on the table below seemed to be designed in a fashion similar to the chandelier. I recalled seeing an almost identical chandelier in the lobby room too. Gentle orange light illuminated the room. Did you find any good furniture that day? Naya looked up from her food, momentarily ceasing her attempts to separate a portion of the fish from a stubborn bone using only her chopsticks. Yeah, I got really lucky that day. I managed to find a mahogany shut up with the fucking mahogany sofa and a writing desk with glass doors. That sofa is actually the one in your room. I recall the green Victorian sofa I saw in my room. You have good taste. Thanks. From the other end of the table, I could see Nane flash another smile. I heard the brief rattling of the windows. The wind must have picked up a bit. It's just seasonal wind, said Nanae. I shifted my gaze to the window. In these parts, the winds get stronger around the same time every year. Don't worry though, it won't blow the entire building over or anything. I'm glad to hear that. Nanae, after sipping out all the soup left in her spoon, stuck it in my direction for me to inspect. The good thing about antiques is that they can stand the test of time. Look at this spoon, for example. It's been around for half a century, and with enough care and maintenance, will stay in tip-toe shape for another 50 years, no problem. It's a spoon, man. Nana showed me the other side of the spoon by rotating it in her grip. In the past, these things weren't as common and expendable as they are today, so every article was made with care by an actual master of the craft, rather than machines. I see. Getting spoon lessons from Nana. I felt as though I heard someone knocking on the wall. That's also the wind. I wonder if I left one of the windows open. Another gust clashed against the window behind Nana. Soon after, I heard the knocking sound again from the direction of the corridor. Did you think it was a ghost? I don't believe in things like that, except for my dead girlfriend. I see. Phew, I'm full. Nana placed her plate back on the table. There were a few more plates on Nana's side as we finished eating. You really ate it all. This is nothing. If anything, I'm still a bit hungry. Fat ash. Looking after an inn requires a bit of physical work, you know? You don't look like someone who would eat a lot, but besides, this is dinner. We heard the same knocking sound from the corridor. Want to go and look at the area tomorrow? I can show you around. Now you push your chair back and lean forward against the table. Are you sure I wouldn't be imposing on you too much? Of course not. I want to do it myself. In that case, I'll take you up on the offer. Alright, you just leave everything to me. I'll show you all the best places. Are we not going to investigate the knocking sound? That seemed pretty suspicious. Ooh. Wait, it's blue and green now. Huh. Does that mean Takako's here? Because green was Takako's color, and blue was Sachiko's color. So does this mean it was blue and green there? So, huh. Was Takako the one making the knocking sound? Was she pranking us in the hallway? Well, I'm gonna get them good with this one. Okay. I'll stop here for now. Okay. Let me recap the list of things I need to check. I still need to check if Takako actually made food. Because she said she didn't know how, but I said I would do it for this episode, but I forgot. So I need to do that for next time. I need to check if I need to check the thing with the magnetic ticket card that Sachiko and Fumi talked about to see if Sachiko had one or not. Oh god, there was other things I wanted to check, but I forgot those too. I wanted to check the thing with Sachiko's record in the tips, but I just checked it like at the beginning. I already did it. I want to go back and check Mayuko's car and Fujisaki's car, and I'm pretty sure it is the exact same car, but I'm not 100%, so I should go back and check that. I gotta do my homework if I want to solve this. If Fujisaki, or sorry, if Nanae and Mayuko are driving the same car, how do I explain that? Is Mayuko Nanae's aunt? Is that who she was talking about? And they just like share the car or something? Again, I'm trying not to just not to answer with just parallel universes, because if we do, it's easy. Just like in one universe, the building is a sanatorium that Mayuko works at, and in the other reality, the building is a hotel that Nanae runs. Like if I just do it like that, it's super easy to answer, but that seems a bit cheap. I don't know. I feel like if it would be that obvious, then there isn't really even a mystery. Man, these kinds of mystery are so much harder to speculate on than like murder mysteries. Like when I was playing like Danganronpa or whatever, it's so much easier to like make theories and speculate on like a murder where like you have clues in front of you and there's like you know what the answer is gonna be. Like you don't know what the answer is, but you know what the answer is gonna be. Like you know it's gonna be a person who killed them, and you're trying to figure out who that is. In something like this, like it's a lot more open-ended and like it's a lot like I don't even know what I'm looking for, you know? I do like these kinds of mysteries though. I don't want to make it seem as if I don't like these kinds of mysteries. I do. It just they're definitely harder for me to solve usually. Yeah, anyway, I'll try to do my homework for next time and I'll forget. But yeah, I'm stopping here. Okay, see you next time.